Hola a todos, todas, bienvenidos a este espacio digital de conversación con los invitados de la cuarta versión de Cinemancia Festival Metropolitano de Cine. Hoy estamos con Alexandre Koberidze. Él es un director georgiano que muy amablemente ha aceptado nuestra invitación a ser parte del festival. Okay, hi Alexandre, welcome, and once again thank you for being here, for accepting our invitation. As you know, your invitation to the festival is a little bit weird or a mixed one because we first ask you to show us some films from your country, and then we also wanted to screen your films and see what maybe your films, how did they talk with the other films. So first, we are telling the people, the spectators, that this section of the festival is an introduction to Georgian cinema. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think are the good things and the bad things about national cinema? In the sense that is it very coercive or is it a very liberating tag on cinema? So how do you feel about speaking on terms of national cinema?
Well, first of all, thank you that I can be here, that the films are here. That's the most important, I guess. But I'm also happy that I was able to visit, and it's really overwhelming in many senses. Also, because it's the first time, because it's not the first time that I tried to make this kind of a program, but it's the of Georgian films. But it's first time that my films are screened also together. So
Okay.
it's a strange feeling. It's maybe it gets too close. I had the feeling, and also to be like in a catalog on the same page with these films, which I grew up together. And now, like we may call it kind of an introduction, but of course it's a private introduction. It's like from one guy who also has access to these films now at this very moment. But still, I think all these three films and also the shorts are kind of representing different faces of Georgian cinema. Because we have Unusual Exhibition, which is maybe the most popular film ever in Georgia, which is really part of, has become part of how people talk. Everybody knows it by heart. And yesterday, someone asked, like, when did you first see it? And I really, that's when I saw it. I don't know, like, when it's the moment I start to remember myself, I remember this film. And because it's always there. And my relationship to it tend to change a lot because I change and I see things which I didn't see before. And now with this restoration, seeing becomes also a thing because then you really see things which were invisible on the TV, I don't know, 20 years ago. And then we have Great Green Valley, which is also a classic, a film with a much harder destiny than the other one because it was not so well received, as I know back then. And more later, people started to like and appreciate it. It's a very unusual film for that times of, and in generally in Soviet for Soviet cinema. The third one, 19th Chronicles of the 19th Century, is made by Alexandre Koberidze, who is who has maybe the hardest destiny among all of them. I saw this film not lately, but latest among all of them. Many people don't know about the director or even these films. They are almost never shown in TV. And now, really now, since few years, people start to watch it and understand it. And I always like, for me, it's his films are something for the future. That's like my feeling. But still, I think these films, all of them share something. Some really thin line, but I think there are like little dots which not repeat, but which if we see one and then another, we can say, okay, they have something in common. And that's for me what I can call maybe Georgian cinema, which existed. I think that's what used to exist back then, because these people worked also together. They knew each other, and they shared something, some kind of a tradition, not only for cinema but also for art, I guess, generally. One of the things was also, of course, the repressions and kind of trying to escape the impossibility of making a free art in the Soviet Union, but not only. So for me, sometimes I see a film, maybe I've never seen it before, but I can sense that maybe it's a Georgian film. But today, of course, it's different. We are, since 90s, we start from zero, because there was really big change, big break, not only in cinema, in anything, and there was no time for cinema or football or all the nice things.
All the things you like.
Yes. So now it's kind of starting again, and we have good footballers and we have good directors, I guess. But still, like, we don't have a school or something what you can what unites us as filmmakers, which we then maybe later could call like Georgian cinema. I think it can happen or not, but it now we are kind of far from it, I guess. But maybe it needs one or two generations of filmmakers to really work in the same space and the same time to develop something common. I think it can be very precious. It can be dangerous because sometimes it becomes something which people start to repeat. But always all the good things have this kind of side effects.
And now that you're seeing your films next to these films, that it's weird what we ask you to do, that is making making the films made by others your own. But now that in this place you're seeing your films, the films you chose, what do you think is your own relation with Georgian cinema in general, and how do you see yourself as a Georgian filmmaker? Also, I was telling you before that you are kind of an international filmmaker. You study in Berlin, but then you are shooting in Georgia. So, what do you think about all these mixes, and how do you see yourself as a filmmaker from Georgia?
Yeah, I really believe in importance of tradition, especially in art. And I think for me it was always clear that it's not easy to make films for us, for our generation, because we don't belong to any tradition anymore. Because when Soviet Union was gone, everything got demolished. So, and I see that somehow I think like art, cinema also needs some continuation. You need to have something before you to then make something. But I don't see it as like a stairs where when you need a step to go higher or lower. It's more like a bridge, I think, to when with every step, like another brick appears where you can step and you go forward. But you can't go forward if you don't have something behind you, because this bridge will fall. So as I try to make my films and go forward, I also somehow try to find something behind to rely on. If I see these films and then I see my films, I know that my films are as they are because I've seen these films. And I try to watch them often. Here I also watch them again because that's where I want to learn. Because that's the destiny, like that's like homeland. and this is like cinematic homeland. You don't choose it, and uh, I want to be part of it, and I try to somehow become part of it.
Well, there is an iconic filmmaker from Georgia, Otar Yoseliani. I might be saying it wrong, but when we think about Yoseliani, it's always the beauty of his image. He is always admiring. I wanted to ask you, as a Georgian filmmaker, what is the meaning of beauty in your films and in your own personal conception of cinema? What is your relationship with beauty? What do you think about beauty? Also, I say it because your films are very beautiful, or you have like these nuances of beauty. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. It's a hard topic because it has so much
Mm,
angles, generally like beauty and the history of art. But for me, now when I look around and see what is going on, it's so hard. Not only in Georgia, it's general, no, everywhere. And I have this feeling that everyone is struggling a lot, and for me, like these times when, or let's put it the way that I have the feeling that the art which tries to show like this really ugly
mm,
face maybe of the world or of our being today and so on and so on, it is interesting when some other people do it, and I appreciate it because someone has to do it.
mhm,
But still, recently I had often this feeling that it has something, how to say, like bourgeois way of
mm,
living the life, because if you really look closely, it's hard enough, like, and if you have a feeling that it has to be repeated, maybe you don't look like close enough, because for most of the people it doesn't need repetition that
mhm.
it's ugly and it's hard. Most of the people see it, so if someone is not seeing it, it's really problematic, I guess. And that's when I think, quite unconsciously maybe, I started to look for, yeah, we can call it beauty, but for some tenderness more, or something what is missing, because that's really what I miss, I think, in the surrounding, in a way that in relationships, that tenderness or like kind way of being with each other, with the surrounding. And I know it for myself. I know that I have to learn it to be more careful and more kind. And I think that's through the cinema and through looking this way. I try to learn, and I try to be careful with others. Like, I don't know. I look around and I see people, and I think, okay, I don't have to add anything on that. These people live such a hard life, and I don't mean just the people. I don't know, like my parents.
Mm,
I don't want to. If I want to show my parents something, I want them. I want it to be something beautiful, because they lived hard life enough. So, and this these people, like really close around me, is whom I think about when I make something. So maybe it's like a way of caring about the ones we love.
now that we also are seeing your films next to the films you chose, I have, I don't know, maybe seen that in general, I say this with a lot of course, I'm no expert on Georgian cinema, but I've seen that Georgian cinema is a very silent cinema. People say enough. They have the right words for things. They are very, it's the landscape is very lost on the mist. We can say that. But your films, on the other side, are very close to even being musicals, are very devoted to music. You use music a lot in the way that is music that the characters hear and music that we as audiences hear. So I wanted to ask you if what are your thoughts on music in general, music on cinema, music in films, but also what your own method on making music for your own films.
Yeah. Speaking about Yoseliani, like, because it's an important name. What I appreciate a lot about him, and I made a seminar some last semester with students. We for one semester we were discussing only one film
Wow.
for 6 months, and it was like really interesting, going really deep into it.
And which film was it?
How is it in English? It's about when they make wine and it's not good, and I don't remember the English title.
It's okay. You say it in
It's
Georgian.
it's Giorgo Bistue. How do you say in English? Okay, you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, and talking about like also the critical view. What I was trying to say is that for me he is like an example how to do both, because, for example, this film Giorgo Bistue is very critical. It's not that he's just so showing how beautiful anything is. He's critical to everything, but it's made with love. That you won't sense any second of hate or this kind of things towards anyone. And maybe he doesn't love every of his characters, but then in these moments, and that's the magical thing I think in the cinema, that he manages to make them kind of silhouettes. I don't know how he makes it, because when you watch it, these people are dressed normally. It's not filmed strangely. You see them, but still they are figures. They are not real people with a name and surname. And okay, this man is this woman is bad. They are representing something, and that's still a big secret for me. I don't know how he manages it. And he used to use a lot of music, even though when you hear his interviews, he talks only about that you can't use music, and that's is the enemy of filmmaker and so on. But he used a lot of music, but of course differently than sometimes it is used or misused, because that's the danger with music. It's and that's also kind of a magical thing. You take music, you put it on any image, and if it's a good music, it becomes nice to watch. And and that's what gets sometimes dangerous. But also from this phenomenon, I learned this to see the musicality in everyday life. I think that's very interesting to watch some chaotic crossroad in a city, a documentary shot. It's a chaos, but sometimes when you put music on it, you see that this music matches perfectly to this apparently something being a chaos, like a motorcycle goes and someone falls and so on. And when you sometimes watch it with music, you see that there is this some rhythm in this chaos which is very musical. So there is this apparent connection between music and with the rhythm of music and the hidden rhythm of the reality we see, which is really hard to see because it has no sound, it has only movements. But to make it visible, sometimes for me, music is a good tool. And I think in these rhythms are many important things kind of hidden, because that's like a rhythm of being, or of this universe, because it's very connected with this rhythm. I have sometimes a feeling that everything is connected in this rhythm, and it gives me a feeling of unity of everything. And that's maybe one of the things I really sometimes want to express, and music helps there a lot because it makes it visible what we don't see.
Bueno, thank you, Alexandre, or Sandro now, for being here, for being so generous with us, with your films, with the films from your country. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Is everything here? This talk was also very nice.
Thank you.